Golf is a funny sport, right? It's the only sport where the object we're trying to hit is stationary. So if the golf ball is stationary, why have we been told for years that when we hit this golf ball, we need to shift our weight? We need to load into this trail glute. We need to turn behind the golf ball. Well, if the ball's not moving, why should I be moving? What we're going to learn today is how to be a little bit more efficient with our ball striking by doing a heck of a lot less moving. So do me a favor, hit subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment because we're about to learn how to hit the golf ball a heck of a lot better. Coach Scott Yurgalevicz here, and you just heard me talk about why we shouldn't shift and move off the golf ball. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, I've been hearing this for years. I just read it in a magazine last week. If I want to hit the ball really long, really far, really straight, I need to move behind the golf ball and then hit it, right? Unfortunately, that makes the number one fundamental of playing golf very, very hard. And now you're probably asking yourself, what is this number one fundamental? Now it's not grip, it's not posture, it's not stance, alignment, it's none of that stuff. If you want to be really good at golf, you have to be able to do one thing very, very well. It's what all tour pros are able to do. They are able to hit the ground in the same place every single time. Obviously, you don't do that with a driver. The driver's a little bit further forward in your stance, but with all their clubs, they're able to hit the ground in the same spot so they can strike the ball really well every time. Now, let's get back to shifting our weight, right? So if that's the task, if that's the number one task of all really good players, what do you think is going to happen if I take my stance, I move my head, load it up behind that golf ball, and I've now shifted my weight back to my trail side? Do you notice how far I've now moved off the golf ball? Guess what? We've now created a really big variable and a very big timing issue for your golf swing. Now, you might not have a chance to practice 40, 50, 60 hours a week like a tour pro, but I'm going to tell you right now, you don't have to if you're able to maintain what I would call a steady head when you hit the ball every single time. So the best analogy I've seen for this is if I was a football player, right? The Super Bowl just happened. If I had a helmet on and a defender came up to me, grabbed my face mask and pulled me, where do you think my whole body's going to go? As my head moves, my whole body moves. That's going to make things really hard to get all the way back to the golf ball and even further forward to hit it. So we are going to take one variable, we're going to eliminate, we're going to keep our head really, really steady. And I've got two simple drills for you that's going to make this really easy for you to do. All right, so the first drill we're going to do, and this is so simple, you can do this without any training aids at all. What I want you to do is I want you to set up to your golf ball as you normally would, and I want you to take your trail foot, and I want you to unload it a little bit. I want you to feel like all of your weight, 100%, 0%, all your weight's on that front foot. Now, most of my mid to high handicap golfers, they'll set up 50-50, they'll shift their weight back, they'll turn and they'll pivot around this trail leg. This is putting as much weight and as much pressure on my trail foot as possible. That's, again, going to make it really hard for me to hit the golf ball. So this drill is meant to get your hips a little bit forward, and it's meant to put most of, if not all of your weight on your lead foot. It's kind of contrary to what we've been taught, right? So from here, when we make our swing, we are going to feel like we pivot around that lead hip. We're no longer going to pivot around this trail hip. We're going to pivot around this lead hip. This is a great drill for the guy that has a hard time hitting the golf ball first every single time. So this drill is going to look a little something like this, and I would highly recommend going slow at first, right? So the ball position is going to be somewhat neutral, little back of my lead shoulder, your standard setup, and we're going to offload this trail foot. We're going to put most of our weight, if not all of it, on that lead foot, and we're going to take some small swings, maybe some halfers. Here we go. And I want you to feel like when you make that backswing, that weight is going to stay on that lead side. And if it's going to do anything, it's going to feel like it's going to load even more into that lead side. This is just a really foreign feel. You're going to have to overdo that feel if you're that guy that moves way off the golf ball. So again, let's do it again. Here we go. We're going to set up. Lead leg, most of the weight. I'm going to take my club back. You can see my lead knee kind of flexes a little bit. My trail leg extends. That tells me I'm pivoting in the right place, not around this trail leg. So again, lead leg will flex a little bit. Here we go. Half backswing. And if you notice, every swing I've made so far, it's been ball first, very crisp, a little bit lower ball flight, but that's a good thing. If you're that guy that's pivoting around that trail leg, you typically will have the highest ball flight because you'll be too far back, adding the most loft to it. Now, as you're getting better with this and you're done hitting those little chip shots, build it up a little bit, make it bigger. Here we go, weights forward. And if you notice, when I made that bigger swing, I loaded into that lead side, did not shift backwards with my head, loaded up, and then as I came down, you notice I was pretty far in front of the golf ball. That's a positive thing, right? So for most players, they never move far enough forward in their golf swing. You can see this video here of a PGA Tour player at impact. Look how far forward their hips are. Look how far forward they are in general when they hit the golf ball. We're trying to get you to feel these things, and we're going to overdo it so you can be closer to that tour pro. So as you get better and better with this, we're going to set up again, feeling 100 and 0. Here we go. And that was absolutely ripped, and that was really good contact. So the plan should be, if you have a hard time shifting off the golf ball and you feel like you're hitting it heavy, chunky, thin, start with the majority of your weight on that lead side first. Start with like a wedge, make little pitch shots and chip shots. Practice hitting golf shots that go 20, 30, 40, 50 yards. Build it out into like a 7-iron, a 6-iron. And then even with your driver, make sure you do the same exact thing. The ball position will just be more forward in your stance. So instead of striking the ground, the low point will be slightly behind the golf ball, and the club will be ascending as you go to hit it. That is how we hit the driver, doing this very specific drill. I would even recommend you taking this to the golf course and just trying it out. This is a really great drill that you can take to the golf course without having to worry about a training aid or a ball between your arms, none of that stuff. This is a really great drill, and now I've got one more for you. All right, and now my last drill. Typically, if I'm outside, I will find myself a downhill slope to hit golf balls from. I don't have that inside, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to simulate that with this impact bag. So I'm going to take my foot, I'm going to jam it into the bag to feel like I'm on this exaggerated slope. So I'm going to have you make some practice swings first. Number one, don't fall over, right? It seems to be a trend in my videos, trying to make sure you don't fall over. But I want you to feel what it's like to make some back swings, some through swings, feeling like you're inclined more down and towards the target as opposed to the opposite way. Now, this is what most people feel when they hit a golf ball. They think, hey, I got to hit it up into the air, right? The ground is flat. I got to get the ball up. So they'll feel more of this. They're going to feel more of that turn, pivot around that trail leg, and then they try to hang back, throw the ball up into the air, and guess what? Sometimes it works, but sometimes we do a little something like that. So we've got to take that feel, reverse it, and put this bag over here. From here, again, start with a wedge. Take your time, make some practice swings, and feel what it's like to stay more on that lead side, pivoting around that lead hip as opposed to the trail hip. Now, the last nugget of this is if I took this stick and I just stuck it right here between my belt loops. Now, you've probably seen people do this so they don't get stuck. I'm going to show you why I'm using this, right? So by pivoting around this lead hip from a down the line camera angle, what you're going to see is when I pivot, I am more on my lead side. So when I go to move and I shift slightly forward, what's going to happen is this stick is going to come around the corner and look like it's striking the golf ball from more of an in to out angle. When I do it the opposite way, when I take my backswing, pivot around this trail hip, but never get a chance to move forward, you're going to notice that stick is going to come out first and then across the golf ball. What is the tendency of a player that moves the most off the golf ball? Hang back, come across it, hit it high, hit it short, slice it. So we need to make sure when we do these drills, we feel like we're pivoting around our lead hip and then moving to the golf ball so we can strike it more from the inside as opposed to hang back, pivot around our trail leg, and swipe across it like we're hitting flop shots. So now that you understand those drills, what I want you to do is I want you to take some videos of your swing from face on, draw a couple lines on your head, and see, where are you moving? Did you start your day by moving way off the golf ball, flipping at it, chunking it, having a really hard time hitting all your golf shots? Or are you now the guy that can stay directly on top of the golf ball, pivot, and strike your golf shots and make them sound a little bit more like that? Do me a favor, if you haven't already, hit subscribe, take some videos of your swing, see if you're moving around, and send them to me on Skillist or at scottyurgzgolf.com. We'll see you next week.